side. So I'm just going to leave you alone, okay? But if you missed something, it's not my fault because, you were all the way in the back and, you missed out. And I'm not sure, but if y'all remember Rosa Parks, she did a lot so we could be in the front. So we don't have to come in anywhere and go in the back anymore, just in case you didn't know that, okay? We don't have to go to the back anymore. Okay, with that being said, thank you so much for being here with us, and we're going to get started. Let's stand. Let's get some juices going, motion. I'm not Cheryl, so I can't do all the stuff that we did this morning for praise and worship. So I'll just go with prayer, okay? Bow your heads, please. Our Father and our God, we thank you so much for your Sabbath, and we thank you so much for all that you've done, and we thank you so much for the Women's Ministries Department and how you've led us to invite the guests that we have. Please be with us, and please guide us and guide our presenters. And Lord, we just ask you to have your way with everything. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Sit back and enjoy. I see there's a microphone there, so it looks like there's going to be some interactive. I just ask that we listen and we respect our presenters. Thank you.
All right. Happy Sabbath, everybody. Let me just stand up here a little bit, if you don't mind. I am grateful to be here. My name is Garry Graham. If you saw the wonderful flyer that your AV has done, I thought it was probably the best flyer I've seen this year. I got to tell you, we go through flyers all the time. I literally will just say we go around the world and people present us with stuff, with the things that we do. And I got to tell you, that is the #1 flyer. And it didn't even have my face on it. So maybe that helped it become #1, that is not there. If the name Graham sounds familiar to you, my brother's is Pastor Patrick Graham of the Allegheny East Conference, and my other brother is Paul Graham, and he is in the Potomac Conference, and some of you are very familiar with him. This is one of his favorite churches. In fact, I heard he was here earlier, and we are more than, so we are originally from the Bethel Seventh-day Adventist Church. That is our home church where my mom and dad were members, and we came up through the Adventist system. And for me, I am a full-time therapist, consultant. So I'll just make it clear, and this is my favorite part when I tell, I work for myself, okay? And I've been doing it for the last 6 years. So in the middle of the week, I see between 30 and 40 patients or that is dealing with mental health. The others, I'm consulting, something that I'm very proud of. I'm a critical incident responder. So, for instance, the mass shooting that they had in Manhattan the other day, I get called for that. Or when they had the plane crash in the Potomac, they call me for that. Or the most memorable one for me is when they had the mass shooting in Maine. So anytime there's a mass shooting, my phone rings. And so one of my specialties is that, grief and loss, anxiety and depression. But one of the things that is my superpower, and it took a little while for me to develop my superpower, is when I'm in therapy, I just tell the absolute, unadulterated truth. Can't help you. If you lie to me, you're not going to get anywhere. If I lie to you, you're not going to get anywhere. And so when I was called to do Women's Day, Domestic Violence, or EndItNow, I was overjoyed. to the part that I brought my partner in crime, Dr. Kesslyn Brade. She'll tell you a little bit about yourself. So let me just take it because I know how Adventists are. And I know, this is not my wife. Okay? My wife is in the Bronx. And you know how people will say, oh, Pastor Graham's brother was here with his wife to present. And then I'm going to have to answer to her. And then it'll be EndItNow for me, domestic violence for me. But usually what I do, and I'm going to compliment the women's ministry for I literally go around the world. And when I do special presentations like this, my brothers are excellent speakers. They were taught, they have the talent to do that. So what I usually do, I hire a person to come speak. And what has happened this afternoon, you kind of fell into, because Sister Allen is a wonderful speaker. And bar none, she's probably, I say it on the internet, and I have no, I think she's around here. I don't want to, pound for pound, up against anybody. If you got a talent, and you're smart, and you read, and what have you, pound for pound, you had one of the best speakers in the Seventh-day Adventist Church here today. And if you did take some time to parse out what she has. So usually Dr. Brade comes and she speaks in the morning, and then in the evening, we speak straight to our audience. As my little brother would say, I'm not afraid of y'all. And Paul is about 5'3", right? He's not afraid of. I'm bigger than Paul, and I'm not afraid of y'all, right? So my job here today is to keep it practical and be truthful and be honest with you. Domestic violence is a real thing. And before I hand it over to Dr. Cass, before anybody put their hand on you, the domestic violence has already started right here. All right? So, Cass, if you want to say a couple of words, and then I'm going to make sure we're going to be good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a Southerner, so I like the whole interaction piece. I'm Kesslyn Brade Stennis. I am here with my two youngest crew and my housemate, who is also a social worker, so she might be on duty too. And thank you for the invitation to come. Hopefully, I won't get ahead of myself. Professionally, I am a trained, I have a background in social work. I have a PhD in social work, and I only say that not for any boast. I don't care about that. But I want you to know my expertise in this area. My dissertation research was on domestic violence in African American churches. And I specifically looked at clergy's perspectives and experiences with domestic violence. So this is what I do. For many, many years, I have been going to churches, specifically churches of African descent, to help us unpack and address issues of domestic violence, domestic abuse, intimate partner violence. This is what I do. I can tell you stories upon stories upon stories upon stories. Some of them you'll hear today. I have a master's degree in social work, but I also have a master's degree in divinity. So I was able to look at how both of those kind of areas work together. And you'll hear some of this today. Let me just pause and say, I don't know if she is still here. That sister preached today. I want to encourage you to listen to it again. The first time, you're captivated. The second time, you are informed. The third time, you will be inspired to do more. So please, 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 Judges 19 is a powerful, if you understand the context, it's a powerful, powerful word. So please listen to it. All right, let's get started. By the way, my children are here because we are going to Broadway this evening. So if y'all see me slip out, it's because I have two bosses in the back, two supervisors. If they start looking at me cross-eyed, just know that they're calling me to our next appointment, all right? All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you get a chance to know who I am. And so if you can't see so clearly, we'll just talk about it. And, let me see if I got this right. There you go. I'm going to go back and forth with this, and I'm going to start with this. I'll start with myself. I think I'm a wonderful husband for 25 years. I've been married for 25 years, all right? And the stories, we could put up everything. We will kind of like refer to this, but the story, I have two stories to start off with. One, with myself being vulnerable. Okay? Men, because I'm a man, I once was a boy. I have two brothers, and I have no sons. No daughters. Everybody is men in my life. A lot of testosterone. So I'm just going to say it for the record, just in case you do not know. Men are highly competitive. And there's no man that I know that is not a boy inside. So, even though I'm telling on myself, I'm informing my brothers as much as I love them, and much as I love my friends that I play basketball. There's no such thing as a beta male. Every man you see is competing to be an alpha male. Period. End of story. Women don't marry beta men. They marry alpha men, at least in their area. I don't care if it's preaching. I don't care how much money they make. I'm at competition with my brothers every day. I'm serious. So I'm giving you the background is that when you do studies, more men are narcissists than women. You find a woman narcissist, run the other way. That's a story for another day. Okay? As kind as I am, the suit that I'm wearing after 25 years, and I'm only saying this, is that my wife ironed my clothes this morning. I earned that. Okay? I picked up the clothes this morning, and I had someplace else to go, and she kindly says to me, would you like for me to do that for you? You don't get that at year one. The first year, Dr. Kess, that I got married, and if you know my father speaks in loud voices with a Jamaican accent. He doesn't know anything under 8. And that's how he spoke to us all the time. So when I spoke to my wife and son, this is how I spoke to them all the time. Until my wife said to me, I don't like the way you speak to me. And I said to her, moi? I don't speak like that to you. And I said sarcastically, the next time I speak like that to you, you let me know. We haven't driven even 2 blocks. And she says, just like that. I am my father's son. Well, Paul is, actually. Paul and Patrick is my father's son, right? So when I realized the way I was speaking to her, she said, I don't want you to speak to me that way, because if you speak that way to me, our son is going to speak to me the same way. Point taken. I do not raise my voice at my wife. The only time you hear me raise my voice on 3 occasions. Fire, somebody trying to come after my family, if I'm having passionate sex with my wife. I'm not afraid to say it. Want me to say it backwards? Sex with my wife, you try to fight my family, and there's fire in the house. And when the Mets score, which is very rare, or when the Knicks are on. You get it, right? But you get my drift. And I really mean that. So I go down one year, and Daddy says to me, I am proud of you because I never heard you raise your voice at your wife or your son. Take that from the most stubborn man that I know. And he says to me, I'm sorry. I got 2 in 1, right? He said, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do the same for you. Men gets humble in their older age. I've seen it happen. Saying that, men are boys and their egos get hurt very easily. And I'm going to tell you something that I did wrong to my wife and I got away with it because of the status of who I am at the Ephesus church. So last year, Cass, my mother-in-law died. And my mother-in-law is one of the pillars at Ephesus church. And everybody was there. And I'm a person that talks about and talks real. So you could look at it. It's on the Ephesus website. And go ahead and tune. And our family went up there. And my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law was sick for 7 years. My sister-in-law went up and said, I'd like to thank my sister, which is my wife, for taking care of mommy for 7 years. And she slept with mommy for 7 years. I didn't like that. So I went up there after to let everybody know if my wife slept up with her mother for 7 years, that means I slept alone. I had to let everybody know that I was involved too. Not one person came and checked me. You know why? Because I'm Garry Graham of Ephesus. My 2 brothers are Northeastern pastors. And if you said something to me, just maybe you're going to get punched in the throat. We need to stop. And I'm going to tell you I was wrong for that. Because I knew my place. Everybody knows how much I love my mother-in-law, how much money I put in it. I did all the right things, but I did not have to take my wife's shine. It belonged to her. Garry Graham at 56 wouldn't have come to that realization at Garry Graham at 32. That comes with maturity. So, with that being said, one of the things I want to make sure you talk about is recognizing who is being hurt at home every day. Sometimes it takes years. And before anybody lays a hand on you, they're hurting your feelings every day. Maybe right here in this church. And as judges talked about, we don't say anything. We don't speak anything. And they laughed it off because of who it is. So, in my maturity and in my mission that God has given me, I have to recognize the mistakes that I do also too. I have to recognize the mistake as a man that I do not hurt my wife or my family or my church sisters or brothers. That's why if you see something, say something and act on it. So, for men, there's a couple in here, we have to be exemplary excellence every time we move, because the media does not like people like me to be leaders. And the way I talk to my wife, the way I talk to Dr. Kess, the way I talk to Sister Green, talk to my Queen of Lebanon over here, it counts. Everybody get what I'm saying? It's silent in here because I know I'm doing the right thing. Doesn't mean you need to go up on the next man like, you need to talk to so-and-so like that. Nope, just observe. Take it down, because there will be a day where we like to say we hold receipts. Okay? My dear.
I want to start by acknowledging that domestic violence, domestic abuse, intimate partner violence, intimate partner abuse are generally used simultaneously, that language, but they have nuanced differences, okay? They have nuanced differences. I won't get into all of that today. Just know that it's all wrong. Just like my brother said, most people, when they think of domestic violence, they think of what? Talk to me. When you think of domestic violence, what comes to mind? Hitting. Mental abuse. Verbal abuse. Financial abuse, thank you. Thank you. What else? Who's doing the abusing? The man. When we think of it, we categorize domestic abuse, domestic violence, intimate partner violence as male to, who's the victim? Female abuse. In this country and in many other countries, that is typically true, but not always. So I want to start by saying that women, too, can be abusive. Financially, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually. So let me just start there. Women and men can be abusive. So if we tend today, we will, it's Women's Day, we will probably lean more to the norm and say he, abuser, she, victim. But that is not always the case. In England, the stats about domestic violence are 50% male victims, 50% female victims. You hear me? But I want to start just to foundationally, when we talk about it and we characterize it today, it will more than likely come out, although I will try to use gender neutral language, it will more than likely come out as male perpetrator, female victim, all right? But please know that that is not always the case. You already know kind of what domestic violence is, in that what the signs are, or what, not the signs, what the end results are. You talked about spiritual, let me come back here because I will, yeah. You talked about spiritual, financial, sexual, physical. Did I miss any other type? Mental, emotional, verbal. It is a pattern. That's the important word, right? Not just one incident, but it's a pattern of behaviors that tend to fall into those categories that you mentioned. Domestic violence or domestic abuse happens in what we tend to think of as families, right? Children, grandparents can experience domestic abuse.
Good point.
Intimate partner violence is just that, or intimate partner abuse. It is just that. Typically between those who are currently in, have been in an intimate one-on-one relationship.
So why don't you explain intimate partner violence? So I'll just say this. I could be married, and I could have my side chick, and there's violence in between there. I'm calling it clear. Gary's been married for 25 years, and he's dating somebody here at Lebanon, and every fourth Sabbath you see me singing with that person on the praise team. Intimate partner violence. My ex-wife goes to Linden, and we have a child together. There's intimate partner violence. My ex-girlfriend at Oakwood, I still stay in contact with her after 30 years. I pay her rent, and there's something going on, and I'm down there every alumni weekend or every board meeting, and there is some type of interaction. So it goes across the board, it goes up and down, all around when we say intimate partner violence. Or you may be single, and you may be dating somebody, and that's intimate partner violence.
Teenagers experience.
Especially that.
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead.
No.
Yeah.
Just that.
Right.
Teenagers, children in relationship can experience intimate partner violence. Are you with me? Okay.
So when we say intimate partner violence, we mean everything. They may have a homosexual relationship, which we don't want to talk about.
Right.
You know that sister so-and-so is dating sister so-and-so's daughter. And they may look like they're friends and they're in the cooking club. Or there's a young man in the Pathfinder Club who's attracted to an older man. And there are things that's going on in between. So intimate partner violence could even go as far as grooming people. Okay?
You know what grooming is? What is grooming?
Or why don't somebody tell us from the mic, what's your thought or what do you think grooming is? The mic is over there. I know people here to talk at Lebanon, so let's do that.
I'm a teacher. I do not put it past me to do a split or a cartwheel not today.
I think somebody's coming up to say something. Yes, my dear. So we're talking about grooming interpartner violence.
From my understanding of grooming is in the case of, let's say, a child, a young woman, you treat that person really well. You do all the nice things for them. You're more or less preparing them for what's coming down the road. So by doing nice things, taking them places, making them feel loved because they might not be getting love at home. Perfect. So you're doing all these things to prepare them for what you're going to do down the road. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, so you're lowering their boundaries. You're building trust to prepare them for abusing their trust later.
Doc, one of the things about grooming that's so dangerous, grooming looks like mentorship.
Yep.
Okay? So anytime you have something that's going on. So I like to use examples and I like call names, right? So Dr. Kess has two young ladies here. I have to be careful how I treat those two young ladies. We work together. There's some boundaries that we have. And she'll say to me, G, I'm going to the theater tonight, okay? And instead of giving them cash, perfect grooming setup, I give the mother cash where that is. Because
and I'll take the, no, just kidding.
So when you see a grown 56-year-old man give a young lady $20 or $40, that's a red flag. When Kess and I work together. It could be backwards. My son is 24, and she may see my son, and she says, it looks great. You down in D.C. or whatever. Here's some money for gas for your car. And he doesn't say nothing to me because he's intrigued with her beauty. And it goes the other way too. Older women grooms younger men also. And what we're teaching here is to look for the clear signs. Now, it could be clear mentorship, but the word we're looking for is pattern.
Pattern of behavior. I don't like it, but there's a word here that's talking about coercion. You're literally intentionally building a relationship to encourage them to lower their boundaries, their guards, intentionally, right? So that they can be used in some way.
So those are, I'm sorry.
Can we do the cycle of abuse?
Go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
I like what Garry said about the abuse happens far long before the first punch, right? There is a cycle of abuse. So there's the building the relationship, lowering the boundaries, building the trust. The power differential begins. One person has more power or control or influence, those are words we use, than the other. There's a trust that's built. And the first act of abuse may start with, I didn't like when you did that. Then it goes, you shouldn't have done that. Then it goes to, when you did that, it really pissed me off. Then it goes to, you are a low-down because you did that. Then it goes to all kind of expletives. The tension is building. The tension is rising. All of this is in the mind before the first punch is ever push, shove, hair pulling, the name calling. Like it all builds up the tension. Then there's the explosion.
I think also you want to do, Doc, is that is weaved in with isolation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
No, you're exactly right,
No,
because the whole thing about when we sit down and people talk about therapy, you come and you say, he did this, he didn't like this. Something simple like, when you come into church, you wait for me by the door and we walk in together. Okay? Or when the isolation comes in, it's like, we're going to start going to church over at Mount Sinai. I know this is your home church, but I like it over there. You love Pastor Morris. Everybody loves what's going on. And the isolation, just like the escalation, happens in little pieces. Like the Adventist church is well connected across the country, right? So I can say this, well, as much as I like Pastor Morris, we're going to stay home this Sabbath. And somebody would say, Delmar, where were you? We decided to stay home. I made some ackee and saltfish for him, and I made some dumpling for him, and we watched Sabbath service. And then the next thing you know, you go to Mount Sinai. And after you go to Mount Sinai, they said, boy, I love what they do at Oakwood. It starts at 12, and even though you could watch it again, there becomes a pattern that happens. And in between the coercion and in between the beat downs and the severe beat downs that gets harder each time, comes the isolation.
Because who do you tell?
Right, exactly.
You have been so, your mind, I have so many stories. Your mind tells you initially, there's like the Holy Spirit speaks. This is not right. Something's not right. But you're so trusting in this person who's built themselves up that you begin to question your own thinking. it gets to a point where the person has isolated you. You don't have friends that you can talk to because they're no good, or they don't know what's happening, or right? You become alone. You become alone. That was for you, because I gave you a shout out earlier today. We'll talk later. But you become you don't even trust your own thoughts. You don't trust your own opinions. You don't trust anybody else except that, not you, but except that person who has told you that they are the only person you can trust. Does that make sense? Yeah. No. You do not become more in love. You may become more enamored.
And dependent.
You may become more dependent, but love is liberating.
So let me just say something with that. I told you about some of the characteristics of men. Men are carnal, right? My mother told me and my brothers that you cannot outsmart a man. She told me that you cannot outsmart a woman. She always told me and my brothers that. But the evil that goes on in men's mind is far beyond. Men are counterpunchers to a lot of things. So when we talk about grooming and we talk about isolation and coercion, right? Usually it's not love that keeps people there. It's the financial buoyancy of what's the dependence, all right? So when a woman comes to me and says, I think my husband is cheating, I say, yo, go check his Cash App. Period. Go check his Zelle account. Because you can easily groom people by taking their financial. I don't have to see you today. All I have to do is pay for your trip to the Broadway show. Here's $300. Come on, G, you don't have to do that. Girl, I got you. I got you. Does that sound harmless? Right? They're paying me today. Here's $300. Right? And I don't have to hit you up for 3 months or 6 months. Don't worry. I'm thinking over there. You thinking over here because you got your 300. Men have access to things that kids and other women don't. And men act in tandem. I'm going to go I'm going to keep it real with you. Say, you don't have to drive. I have my own driver. They will take you there tonight, right? I may be the ugliest Graham. I may walk with a limp. But tonight when she goes to bed, she's going to be like, that Gary Graham is not a bad person after all. That brother dropped $300 on me, treated my girls right, and what have you. I'm thinking years in advance. Because I know there's going to be a day she's going to call the therapist and she's going to need some help. And then I bring out my receipts. If you do not know better, in between the twilight time, the grooming, the isolation, the hurting without the hurting is going on. You think they're loving you, like you on social media. I was here. I like what she said. And everybody likes to be complimented. But what is the compliment for? Just like you said, grooming. Your inhibitions just fall. I'll tell you something. When I was at Andrews, I was a young man, and I liked this girl, and I didn't know what to do. And my brothers had came up, and I told you I'm in constant competition with them. Men are in constant competition. And the girl said to me, "You're the most handsome Graham." She had me for the rest of the year. There's certain things people don't tell you that will tell you that would resonate. Have anybody here been called ugly before in public? Or called ugly without being ugly? You walk in with 3 other people, and they tell you, you're pretty, but you're not pretty. And the person who's not pretty, the person who does the IVF abusing, has already picked you out of the crowd. Already picked you out of the crowd. Men are stalkers, men are panthers, and men works in packs. So, if I get one, you get an assist. That's how we think. You're not going up against one. You're going up against 4 or 5. So when you tell your young women or your young men, when another man is interested in your boy, they're working in packs. So when they talked about the lesson, when you see something and we just make it happen and it boils over and you don't know what is happening, it's like, how did this happen? It was happening in front of your face from Sabbath school, from going to Oshkosh, from going down to Beta. You didn't have time to take your boy or your daughter down to Beta. You were busy coming home working overtime. Somebody else was checking your child out at Beta. Somebody else was checking your child out when you go to Oakwood Live. I'm telling you these things because these things happen.
Can I?
Jump right in, my dear.
So we're talking about the cycle of abuse, right? And there is some grooming that happens, and there's some coercion that happens, and there's some influence that begins to develop. And there's some tension that builds, and then there's the incident. But it doesn't stop there. If it stopped there, more people may leave. But it doesn't stop there. After the incident, the really sweet part happens, and the I'm sorries, and the please forgive me, can we go out tonight? And the best flowers ever. And every time, because it's a cycle, the gifts get better until they stop. Because it's, just imagine that it's a circle. Tension builds, incident, forgiveness, tension builds, incident, forgiveness, tension builds, incident, forgiveness. But what happens is, at some point, the tension is consistent, and the incidents are consistent. And that phase of sweetness, that honeymoon phase, becomes non-existent. You understand? It's a cycle. There's a lot of work that happens at the beginning. A lot of coercion, a lot of influence, a lot of sweetness to get you to the point where you lose your mind. And you get to a place where you can read the room. You know that this is not the tension that's going to lead to abuse. But if I turn this way, if I speak to that person, I'm about to get punched tonight. And there are no flowers. Are you with me? A lot of work in the forefront to end up with a consistent pattern of tension and abuse with little honeymoon. Make sense? Are you with me?
Anybody want to say anything with that? Any questions? Anybody want to refute or agree or disagree? The mic is there.
Is there such a thing as good abuse? Tell me what you mean by that.
One disciplines somebody for something that they thought might have been wrong in that aspect.
Discipline and abuse are not the same. The question was, is there such a thing as good abuse? Discipline and abuse are different. In fact, I will tell you, my children are here. I will tell you that my mentor has never spanked her children because she does not want her children to grow. She didn't want her children to grow up thinking that discipline and abuse were the same. She never spanked her children. My children don't have that testimony. Honestly, fortunately, I have wonderful children. So one time I sat down with my child and said, how many times has mommy spanked you? I think she may have had 5. At 13, you know. But I wish I had, that's neither here nor there. Discipline is not abuse. That's my answer. What do you say?
Discipline is not abuse. I agree with that. Sometimes it doesn't. Discipline is earned and has a foundation, and abuse hurts.
When the Bible talks about spare the rod and spoil the child, we often refer to that when it comes to disciplining our children. The rod was not used to beat the animal. The rod was used to guide in the right direction. It was never to strike the lamb, ever. Discipline and abuse are not the same.
I think also, I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Back in the days when our parents beat us, they didn't beat us. They ripped us to that extent. And some parents beat us. But we took it as it came. We saw it, we did wrong, we got the beat. In today's society, what they did yesterday would be considered abuse today. Because it might be scars, might be a black eye, to that extent. And, when you visually see this and others looking at it, they'll say it's a form of abuse, even though it may have been discipline to that extent. We back in the days did not,
Just because we did not define it as abuse does not mean it wasn't abusive. Just because we didn't define it as abuse, Nicole, sorry, I'm calling you out. Nicole, my housemate, is a social worker for Child Protective Services, CPS, yes. There are certain characteristics that must be present for it to be defined as abuse. Typically, those characteristics are physical. I will tell you, we're talking about domestic violence. In terms of domestic violence, it is very difficult to prove a case of domestic violence when there is no physical abuse. But just because it's not physical abuse, there are no marks, burns, doesn't mean it's not abusive. Just because we don't see the signs doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
So,
just because you may not, so a part of my research for clergy, a part of my research
why are you afraid to walk out there? That's okay.
Because I feel my help coming. When I start walking, I feel my help.
That's why I ordered chairs for us to sit down. Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
In my research with clergy, a part of the question was, how do you define domestic violence or intimate partner abuse? Most of us have learned that domestic violence and intimate partner abuse is just physical, but it's not. But because we have challenges defining it, it leads to having challenges on the other part with accountability, with training, with intervention, because we don't think about the fact that a person cursed me out that is domestic abuse. We just don't. We don't think of it. The point, just because we didn't define it as abuse does not mean it's not abusive.
There are some things that I look for, some subtleties. You're going to sit down? That's okay. One of the subtleties I look for, and I'm not saying it's 100%, I look for over PDA. I look for people in, come sit next to me.
He's married, I'm not his wife.
Oh yeah, we got to put that out of there again. Right. Noosa's light skinned and I just right. So I'm not saying all Sabbath people over there is just like Sister Graham. Yeah. Oh, Pastor Morris is wonderful. Oh Lord, Amen, Amen, Claudia, Amen. She can't move, can't go anywhere. Or like I said, over chivalrous. I've been married for 25 years. And not to make me a bad person, I don't remember opening the door for my wife, ever, right? But then there's some men that will open the door, wash the dishes when company comes over, have the extra dimple in their tie, lead out in song service. See, you laughing because you know I'm telling the truth. And when they come home, it's an absolute nightmare. Right? So I look for things like that. I have a case that I'm very proud of. A man, I'm going to try to water this down as much as I could, but it's very important, and I try not to say it, but he stopped working, and he was raising his daughter, the most beautiful thing. But while he was raising his daughter and looking for another job, he kept on telling the daughter how the mother hates the daughter. Separated, how her mother was mean, the mother doesn't love her, on and on and on, to the point that they slept in separate rooms. And then one day she just got up and just left. I'm not going to say what state she's in, whatever. And this is the thing that we have that a lot of people don't know, that a lot of us had, that I have the power to do. I have the power to write an FMLA. I have the power to write a disability. And then I could put generalized anxiety disorder, but once I put intimate partner violence, nobody's turning that down. Nobody is turning it down. I want you to be that person that turns down intimate partner violence. All of a sudden, the check starts coming in. He starts being nice. And when you have things like that and you're raising daughters and you're telling children that your mother is no good, that is the worst that you could tell them. Another question that I ask about in the house is, where do you sleep? And I use this, and I do this for a joke too. I told people that my wife and I sleeps in separate bedrooms. And you know how Adventists was like, oh my goodness, right? Because my mother-in-law was sick and my wife was sleeping in another room, so I slept in another room, right? But when you talk to people and you find out that couples do not sleep in the same bedroom because of what's going on, because that's their only escape, because that's the only place she can hide. He makes the money, and the mortgage has to get paid. They're already isolated. Now they're not going to Mount Sinai. They're in Washington State, or they're at Loma Linda, right? A lot of men hide behind institutions, and the institutions cover them. Your favorite elder, your favorite pastor, people get in trouble and they just remix. My best friend is the president of the Southwestern Conference, Dr. Bird, right? That's my boy, right? Now you think if worse comes to worse and you hear that Elder Graham is abusing his wife, well, you know, Nilsa's high yellow, right? You see the bruises or whatever. I said, man, I need a job. I told you, men work together. If it's one thing I'm going to tell you from that, right? I'm not here to spill the beans. Like my mother said, women may think ahead of you, but men works in packs. So in order to look good, I can do something else. So I just want to let you know what seems to be is being. Let me just say this last point and you could get into the technical. One of my favorite stories is of a woman who has 3 kids. She's a chemist. And she comes home. The first thing I learned as a man is that when I was at NYU, that women has 2 different jobs. Let me start right there. It took me to go to NYU to do it because when you walk into my house, if the house is not clean, they're going to say Nilsa keeps a dirty house. I don't care how you cut it, okay? So the great husband that I am, I learned that when she comes home, she needed help. And then, unfortunately, when my mother-in-law got sick, we had to hire somebody to take care of her. And in taking care of her, I realized how much work Nilsa was doing in the house. Terrible husband. I try to be a better one every day. Everybody said, no, don't pay for that, or what have you. My wife was being grinded to the ground, and I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize that, but there are men that knows that and sees that and keep grinding their wives into the ground. Then you ask to sleep with her, and you want her to perform at maximum, and you get mad at her, and she got to get up to go to work the next day, and she's grinded down. Anyway, one of my patients, and this is the love of the therapy that I learned so much of my patients. They said, Mr. Graham, I want my house clean, but I have 3 kids, and there's 3 types of clean. There is home clean, where you just come in and everything is clean, dishes are washed. There is guest clean. You show up at my house with your kids, and it's clean enough. And then there is showroom clean. And it took my house manager, one day she was cleaning the house, and I started doing what men do. She's like, no, I want when Nilsa comes home, she sees the house as clean as it can be. There are men that don't care and do it on purpose. After my mother-in-law died and my son went to medical school, I found out how dirty I was. Everything in the house, my underwear, the food, the juice that I drink, my workplace, every crumb was left in place. And for 25 years, my wife cleaned it because she was cleaning everybody's stuff. There's not one woman in here that doesn't want to pick up after a man because I'm capable of picking up after myself. So for the last year, I've learned everything that I have done wrong. Pick up my underwear and put it in the laundry. When I drink my juice, I have to wash it and put it away. Now, there are great men in this audience. If it took me 25 years to reveal that, right? And the clothes I have on, she ironed it this morning. Wonderful woman. There are men who knows exactly what they're doing when they do that. So when the lady tells me that she can't clean her house and her husband stays home all day, day trading, and she thinks he has another person, and I said, check his Cash App. Check his other accounts. Even if she knows. You talk to her and she looks blind as ever. Looks right through you. Her family members come and he's looking at her family member before she looks at you. that cuts pieces out of your wife. And then when you go and swing on her, she has no energy to talk back because you've grinded her down to nothing. And that's what I'm getting to, is intentional. So with that being said, it's quiet in here because y'all know what I'm talking about. And some women have to go and say, look, I ain't picking up after you no more. You either pay for this, or you going to iron this, or you're going to sweep up after yourself. We take our women so much for granted. So even before the blows, even before the coercion, even before that, you have already have in your mind that it's supposed to, and it beats down our black women. So whenever you see, and I'm kind of going off subject, so whenever you see somebody like Lisa Cook, who's being bombarded by the President of the United States, where he does not have the guts to fire the head of the Federal Reserve because he's a certain hue, he goes to the black woman who's appointed for 12 years. Same thing for Letitia James. It all goes down to protecting our women. So when I tell you pick up your underwear, you go ahead and pick up your underwear. When I tell you to put the toilet seat down, there's a reason for that. When I tell you to move the cars in the driveway, there's a reason for that. It starts with respect. Yes, Doc.
I'll wait.
No, go ahead, please.
No, so for the sake of time,
Okay, I'll let you
because
go.
we can talk about this later. We're going to keep it moving and pause periodically. We're going to try because we can talk about this. All right. So we talked about types of abuse even before the physical, right? Here you see disrespect, psychological abuse. We're going to talk a little bit about narcissism. But does anybody know what gaslighting is? What is it? What is gaslighting?
Yeah, what is gaslighting?
I would say gaslighting is I'm telling you that you've done something to me and you're treating me as though what you just did didn't actually happen. And you're making me have this moment of, did I make this up in my head? I'm questioning my own sanity because you are denying my lived experience.
Gaslighting, yes.
Somebody,
Coming.
why did you go to the mic? You running?
There's a mic there.
With
but-
your hip. Okay. It comes and goes.
Add on to that, it's more than lying. It's about skewing your perception of reality. It's like causing you to second guess whether or not if you're perceiving things correctly.
Gaslighting. Anybody have anything to add to it? Anybody?
A man?
Gaslighting.
A man, tell us what gaslighting.
Anybody?
brother?
Anybody? It is denying your lived experience, your reality. More than that, it's adjusting what the truth is or your truth is to make you question the validity of your reality. We are, can I?
Yeah.
I'm going to go there. I'm a visitor in New York, so I'm leaving. But we are living gaslighting as a country. Are y'all with me? The facts say that crime in Washington, D.C. has gone down. But the narrative is being changed to get you to question the truth. Psychological abuse. Are you with me? We're living it. What does abuse look like? We talked about isolation. We talked about gaslighting, belittling, controlling behaviors that make victims question their own reality. We are living gaslighting. Are you with me? All right, I'm only running. I'm rolling, Gary.
Go right ahead.
So there are some biblical scriptures that I want you to write down or take a picture of the screen if you can see it.
We can send it. That is not a problem.
Or we can send it.
That-
All right. So, Judges 19. Did I, y'all? Would bend down and take off my shoe. I want you to read Psalm 55. In fact, can somebody pull it up? Psalm 55. Psalm 55 is another great reflection on domestic violence. Psalm 55. Proverbs 11:29. What does God require? Proverbs 11:29 says, "The one who brings ruin to his household will inherit the wind." Domestic violence. God says, you mess up my house, I'm bringing it to you. I'm not having it. That's what the word says, right? Proverbs 4:23, above all else,
Guard your heart.
guard your heart. Gary's talking about the men. I'm going to talk about the ladies. I'm going to talk about myself. I am the kind of person who sees a glass half full. My mother used to say, you will bring home a stray dog. Like, I'm just that kind of person. My mother's greatest fear for me was that I would give my heart to someone who could not protect it. The Bible says, above all else, guard your heart. Ladies, guard your heart. We are emotional, nurturing, loving people. But as Garry said, there are some scoundrels in the earth walking around seeking whom what? Guard your heart and your mind, because the abuse starts way before the first physical punch. Are you with me? Husbands, love your wives. Do not be harsh to them. We talked about Judges 19.
Yep, we did Colossians. We talked about that. Yep.
Can we move?
Yep.
So there are some examples in our contemporary world. And then I'm going to give you one in the church. Anybody know about the Ray Rice? Okay. Can you talk about Gabby, and then I'll talk about Carla and Nicole?
So Gabby Pietro was killed after visible signs of control and isolation, like we said, right, were ignored by those around her, highlighting the importance of early intervention. So I have my thoughts about Gabby Pietro, but she was hidden by her boyfriend going out west, and everybody knew what was happening. But the key term I want everybody to look at when it comes to abuse is isolation. Always isolation. I'm going to keep it short right there. The lady that moved away moved to her family, not away from her family. So that's the key to that story.
The importance of family when we're dealing with intimate partner violence, domestic violence, abuse, we talked about what that is. I'm going to tell you a story. How I got into this work really was as a result of an incident of domestic violence that happened with some folk in my church. Carla and Nicole, sisters. One was dating a young man, an older gentleman. He was 10 to 12 years older than her. That's a sign. Yep. Not the only sign, but the essence of domestic violence and abuse is asserting power and control over another person. So anything that looks like the possibility of power and control over another person might fall into the category of domestic abuse. Are you with me? One sister was dating a gentleman who was 10 to 12 years older than her. She had a child, so the church was already feeling like, she was already in the category because she was an unwed mother. With me? She was tired of being harassed. He would stalk her. He would harass her, her family, her child. So she said, I'm going to go and confront. One of the most dangerous times for a person who is in an abusive relationship is when they confront or when they leave. 7 times more likely to be killed. She went to his house to say, I'm tired of you stalking me, harassing me. Please leave me and my family alone. She'd taken a box cutter to protect herself. Did I tell you? Do you know about this? I don't know this story. She had taken a box cutter to protect herself. She'd gone upstairs to his home. Pause that scene. The mother, her mother, their mother, had a sense, come on, Holy Spirit, that something wasn't right. So she told the younger sister, I want you to go where the older sister is because something is not right. I need you to go and tell her, come back, not knowing what was happening, right? The younger sister went to his apartment after the older sister. Was climbing the steps, the younger sister heard gunshots. She had gotten in the apartment. She turned to run away, and she was shot as well. Both sisters were killed in one domestic violence incident, leaving this baby to grow up and be raised by her grandparents. This is how I got involved in domestic violence, right? There was a group of people who started doing some work to inform this is 20, 30 years ago, to start informing our faith community about this issue. We interviewed the parents. We went down a list of red flags. Red flags were warning signs. The parents, again, not knowing that abuse was abuse, they had never connected all of the red flags. He's older than her. He's manipulative. He rushed them into a relationship. There were so many red flags. There were so many red flags. After that discussion, they said, I never recognized that my child was in a domestic violence situation. I never made the connection between the red flags and domestic violence. The sisters were killed in one domestic violence incident, and they had a double open casket funeral. A few days later, it came out that the sisters had gone to their pastor. The sister who was in the situation had gone to the pastor days before, and the pastor said, I just need you all to separate for a few days. That was not enough, because when a person is coming after you, they're coming after you. Two sisters killed, one domestic violence incident. Quick other story. We have a responsibility as the faith community to be informed and to provide shelter. That's our responsibility. I was in South Africa on a trip in South Africa, and long story short, I ended up sitting by a lady named Lisa. And I said, so we're getting to know each other, day one on our trip. Tell me about yourself, what brings you here? She revealed that she had been in a domestic violence relationship, and this was her trip to restart her life. She told me her story. She was a mother of 3 children, she wasn't married to their father, but all by the same father. She had finally told the father of her children that she was going to leave. He pulled out a gun, put it in her mouth, and said, if you leave, I will kill you. And meant it. In the still of the night, she gathered her 3 babies, and she left. And she was Catholic. No shade, because they're Christian too, okay? I just want to say that. People who may think Catholics are not Christians. She went to the home of the priest and said, my boyfriend is going to kill me and my 3 children. I'm looking, can I, find safety here? When she told me this, the priest said, I cannot help you because you are not married, and turned her away. With her 3 children. have stories for days. We have a responsibility to be a sanctuary for those in need. The data suggests that 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 women have experienced domestic abuse. 1 in 7 men have experienced domestic abuse or sexual abuse. The numbers might be higher in churches, specifically the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The data suggests that the numbers are higher. Higher. Hello. Higher, 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 higher. We have a responsibility to learn, to be trained, to provide refuge for those in need. And if I just turn my head and count the numbers, 1 in 3, 1 in 7, 1 in 4, some of us, well, we have a responsibility to be a sanctuary for those in need. So that's why I still do this after 20, 30 years of talking to churches. One in 3, 1 in 4, 1 in 7. Christian leadership scandals. I want you to remember the story of Carla and Nicole. I want you to remember the story of Lisa, who fled at night with her 3 children, and the priest said, I can't help you. Specifically, he said, I can't help you because you're living in sin. Referring to her not being married to her children's father. Remember Judges 19. It was the church folk. Y'all with me? Okay. My children are about to give me the eye. You want to?
Yeah, sure. You could wind down. So, pop culture, music and social media, your favorite artists on...
Glorified.
Is glorified on what's happening. One of the things that I've learned in my therapeutic, I don't even use the word TV now. Our children don't watch TV. They watch YouTube, Netflix, things that are streamed. And we also should know what's on the devices. And the way people treat other people on TV is absolutely fine. And we accept that. So we have to monitor that. Movies, people romanticize controlling behavior. This may be out of our young people like Kanye West, Doja Cat, people of those natures. I ask for parents. I ask for brothers to protect their sisters. Again, I use the story as just like, I used to be afraid to date a girl that had a brother because I was afraid if I tried to date a brother would come and find me. I don't think men do that anymore. I don't think fathers come downstairs and check out who their daughters are dating. There was a time in church that I had to sit next to my parents. Or if I wanted to date somebody, I had to wait until after AY because she was sitting with her parents. Or I couldn't sit next to her at the basketball game. And I think there's some values that we lose and that has been watered down. I go back to things like Beta or Oshkosh, who your son is sitting next to on the bus for 14 hours. Right? You got to, but the most important thing is who is influencing our people and who is going and who's influencing what's going on. The 2 biggest media people right now that a lot of people is doing, and I say it's a precursor to domestic violence, is Shannon Sharp and I'm going to say the wrong word, Joy Taylor. And you have to watch the culture, what is being fed into ourselves. Shannon Sharp is a broken man. Shannon Sharp was warned by Monique, and Shannon Sharp was warned by Cat Williams that this is not a place that you play. And he still went ahead, and he would not give his daughter $45,000 for her wedding, but he ended up paying $20 million for OnlyFans person. And when you hear him talk to Ocho Cinco and degrade our women and talk about them like they're nothing, and then people watch that and take advantage of that, you have to see what happens. Same thing with Joy Taylor. God bless her. Very smart sports person. But for our black and brown kids, there is something that's going on that the TV has entertained us to the point that it is watered down. You know, thank God for veterans like Pastor Morris and some of the men in the Northeastern Conference who still hold a banner, who still, you know, I don't know if he's here or not, but I'm just trying to tell you, men who've seen it all, men who go behind the door and don't push people away and say, look, bruh, you got to get your act in order. We can't throw people out the church like we used to because you get sued for it. But I could tell you man to man, you're stupid. I could tell you man to man that what you're watching on YouTube is stupid. And when you see, there is a reason when you see Cam Newton, a former NFL player, put on this stupid hat and go and talk about that. He lost his NFL contract for $133 million, and he can't take care of his kids. Or they're fighting people amongst themselves. We have to watch what our young people, or we, even as me, as my age, are watching. Shannon Sharp and I are the same age. I was born in '68. He was born in 50. He's 56 years old, and he's making mistakes like a 13-year-old boy. It's embarrassing to me. And so the stuff that he has learned was taught to him, and he was treated bad. And so he felt that he could take his millions of dollars and do what he is. So TV and movies, what's on TV, there's nothing good on TV anymore. That anime stuff, rather, sports is not even clean anymore thanks to gambling. That's the next thing that's coming down the line. If the sports gambling is out of control. What is seeping into our church is unfathomable. Yes, my dear.
A part of what you're talking about, you mentioned Shannon and being a broken person, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about there are some risk factors, some warning signs, some things that you need to be aware of, right? If you understand Shannon's story and so many other people's story, you'll see some of the brokenness in their background. We all have something, y'all. This is not a judgmental statement. All of us have been broken at some place in our lives. Therefore, our need for Jesus to fix us, right? Right? Some of the risk factors. People who have experienced abuse in childhood are more prone to abuse in adulthood.
Let me just jump right ahead of you. The biggest risk factor, another thing I want somebody to take away from here, and I'm going to say this I'm going to put my chest in this. Once you abuse drugs, there's no turning back. When you smoke that weed, I don't care if it's from the hills of Jamaica or Barbados, there's no turning back. That's the smoking, the vaping is designed to dumb you down. I am telling you this. When you go into rehab, it's worse in the rehab halls than it is. If it's anything that I beg you to do, stay away from those drugs. When you take that weed, they'll lace it with fentanyl, and you die. And the people who runs these facilities don't look like you. They get paid exorbitant amounts of money. And the kids that don't look like you, they go to Colorado, they go to Hawaii, and they come back and they get the jobs to be your counselor, and you still fighting the cycle of drugs. I beg you, if you, I see two young people talking in the back, and I'm gonna act like my brothers, say whatever. If it's the one thing, if somebody's trying to put drinks, trying to make you drink Casamigo, trying to make you drink Hennessy, trying to make you drink all types of, to bring down your inhibition, it is designed to break you. The last thing I tell my young people about domestic violence or what have you, there is not one successful leader in this country that is not married. Down to the President of the United States is married. The upper echelon of billionaires are married. I'm trying to tell you that. Our leaders have 6 and 7 wives or baby daddies, like, what's his name, who's on Wildin' Out, him. Nick Cannon, my son loves him. Yeah. You know, Elon Musk has just so many kids, but you don't hear about it. Okay? So you have to, at home, see how people are dressed. You will never see a single president of the United States. You will never see a single governor. You will never see, down to Eric Adams has somebody. I'll leave that for another day. So, I will. I just want us to let you know this is beyond, Satan has grips on this church, and it's not about Tom and Jerry anymore. Down to what you see on TV has gaslighted us to the point we don't even know what's right or wrong. And I just beg when I come to places like this and I sit down and they say, well, Tommy, all he does is on TV all day and he's on his devices all day. And I have to tell the parent, or I have to tell the people, and this is what I had to do. Before I told my son I had to take his devices away, I had to stop watching the devices. I was up on there till 2 in the morning. So how can I tell my son to get off the device when I'm on the device myself? So there's some self-introspection here. We could wind down.
Okay, I just got the look. I got the look.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So I'm going to, because my research is about church, I believe that we need to be a sanctuary. Usually when I do a presentation, when I don't have my partner against crime with me, I start with, Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. I believe that we can be a sanctuary. Let me go back.
You got it? Okay.
Providing safety, understanding. I'll let you, I'll skip out with you. You can do that.
No, go ahead. We're good.
All right. What do we need to do? I'm going to first start at the end with the START model. There's a model that after Carla and Nicole were murdered, there was a history. He had a history of abuse in another relationship. And he had a history of abuse after this murder. But after Carla and Nicole were murdered, a group of friends and I, all social workers, we got together and we developed a model called the START model. START. We've written about it, we've researched, we've published about it. Let me leave it with you. What can we do to be a sanctuary? S, shatter the silence. I am so proud of you for doing the work that you have done today to shatter the silence. Many churches don't do this. So, continue to do the work. Shatter the silence is not just external, but it's more internal. That means you have to do your own work about your own abuse. You might need to talk to Garry or another therapist about your own experiences. Shatter the silence in your own mind. Recognize the data, the statistics, some of which we've shared today. Pastor Claudia shared a lot this morning. It happens even in the church. Shatter the silence. Ignoring it does not make it go away. Step 1. 2, talk about it. In our motto, it is in parentheses because it is still taboo. Take it out of parentheses. Talk about it like we're doing today. Talk about it with someone else. Next step. S, shatter the silence. T, what? A, alert the public. How do you do that? Some churches have flyers in their bathrooms. Why? Because oftentimes that may be the only time a person who is being abused is alone. Some churches give away lipstick containers. That's not lipstick. Within the container is a help number. Find ways. At every doctor's office, well, in my doctor's office now, there's a flyer that says, if you're experiencing this, you may be a victim of domestic abuse. Here's a number you can call. Put an announcement in the church bulletin if your church still has church bulletins. There are lots of ways to alert the public. S stands for what? Shatter the silence. T, talk about it. A, R, refer. The reality is most people are not trained in this. And by telling a person to stay and pray, you're doing more harm than good. If this is not your area of expertise, you need to refer. I talked to you about the pastor. The young lady had gone to the pastor and he said, well, maybe you just need some breathing space. Maybe you all need to go to counseling. Why would you tell a person who is being a victim, tell them to go to counseling with their perpetrator? What are they supposed to do? Tell everything that's happening in their marriage so they can be beaten to death that night? No. If this is not your area of expertise, refer. I beg you to refer. T, train. Train yourselves and others. There are free workshops. I'm sure Garry would come back and do some work with you. I'm sure that he can help you. We can help you form a domestic violence task force to do some of this training. Continue to learn. Continue to learn. S. Shatter what? T. Talk about it. A. Alert whom? STAR. Please. T. Continue to learn. Okay? Continue to learn. My children are looking at me with 2 eyes. They're squinted. That means Ma. Okay?
So let's give my colleague a round of applause, Lebanon. So you can skedaddle. That's fine. I could handle myself.
I do.
a comment. Or a comment.
Sure.
Hello. So the refer, I also think it should be open to be referred. Because there's a lot when you do refer and the person just wants to speak to you. And, you know, as the professional that they may meet, you know, they think that you should be the one and that the referral is a rejection. It's not. Be open to be referred.
Well said. Well said.
But I had a question. I remember when this campaign started, I want to say 20. Yes, that's right.
God bless you. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again.
Yes. So I remember when this initiative started, I want to say 2024 or so. I was clerk, and we were tasked with making sure that the church officials were trained. Right, so it's good and it's wonderful that it has still continued. But I'm wondering, you know, what the next step, and this might be out of your purview, but what the next step of the campaign should be, and if it should be expanded to address the, I don't want to say the perpetrator, but that is what it is, or the majority of those who perpetrate violence? And why hasn't it yet expanded to include men's ministries so that they take ownership, responsibility, and accountability for their brothers? And also, because there's a lot of things in my mind, why aren't we engaging as a conference, engaging with young men who are often the perpetrators of violence in this way, you know, with this campaign? Maybe even because men are, you know, men messaging to men occurs differently, but there is room for growth, and I'm wondering if those avenues are being explored. Because since 2014, when we were tasked with educating the church about violence and child abuse, till now, 2025, time has passed, and I think we should be expanding the conversation and engaging different stakeholders. And I'm not sure if that is happening. I'm not saying that it isn't, because I have been away. So maybe I'm out of the game and
So
don't
you're talking
know.
about 10 years now, right?
Yes,
So
it's time to expand.
A lot has happened in 10 years. So the church is great at a lot of things, and the church is good at a lot of things, and the church is poor at many things.
Yes.
Okay? So I'm going to intertwine this as one of my staples is grief and loss, right? So I think our church does a very bad job when it comes to grief and loss, right? And one of the things that I advocate for, that every year each church should do either a legacy concert or a tribute to the people that has passed this year.
I agree with that, especially
Right.
with COVID. There wasn't any time for
Nothing.
churches to grieve the loss of their members.
So you're talking to a former promoter. I used to promote gospel concerts a long time ago. And so when I think of that, so success begets success with that. And I think a lot of people has great intentions. So I'm just going to stick with the grief and loss. I'd also think that grief and loss is the greatest opportunity for evangelism for the Seventh-day Adventist Church. If you do it right, people will come to Christ. And that's the bottom line where people come to Christ. So when we take certain things serious, before anything goes to a conference level, it starts on the local level.
Mm-hmm.
This church is a very good church. I'm not only saying it for good. Each church has its own personality. Men's ministry, as a former men's ministry, our church like to just talk about porn, and it's more than that, right? And we have to be truthful to ourselves because men are not truthful to each other. We just a bunch of roaches stuck in a box and just going back and forth until somebody, the only time men stands at attention is when they're playing basketball or they're playing football or they're playing some type of sport. It's unfortunate that happens. So it takes little leaders to make things happen. This is definitely a start. And unfortunately, let's say there's 100 churches, there's 100 churches in Northeastern, and please don't take this, I don't want Northeastern to take this the wrong way. The North American Division has cited the last day of the last Sabbath of August as EndItNow. Go across your conference, Greater New York, Northeastern, go to Atlantic Union, go to Bermuda, go across, and I'm just going to go to any regional conference and see what happened today. My brother is here for Queens Federation. There's two different things that's going on at the same time. Now, wouldn't it be great if all the churches did EndItNow today? I could tell you the Hispanic churches and the white churches are doing it today. I could tell you that. If you go online and see EndItNow, it's all over. The North American Division and the General Conference has a calendar for each ministry, and they give you handouts. For health ministry, I spoke for health ministry one day, and they gave me the sermon for it. And you download the sermon, and I read it word for word.
Yeah, but that's performative.
Huh?
That becomes a performative engagement with the community. Maybe well-intended. But, I mean, talking points, I get it.
Well, the point that I'm trying to make is we don't even start to start from the ground up, that we have resources. And so I'm complimenting what is happening here. So the follow-up to this is what we do in corporate America is have small groups every fourth Friday to talk about what's going on. And I think you raise a good question, and I think the energy of this church can be done. The leadership of this church is strong and can be done. And you have 4 months to really close out and make new goals for this year. And it doesn't have to happen on Sabbath. This is your own property. It can happen on Wednesday night. It can happen on Tuesday night. You have Zoom. It can happen. So I just challenge everybody to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah, you can do anything. Could somebody take a picture of me? And because my brothers are not going to believe me. That have a seat there.
So I really appreciate your question. I agree with everything that Garry has said. I think what I would add is really work, maybe pastor, your head of women's ministries or the Women's Ministries Council, the men's ministry leader, and you, Sister Jackie, let me know, she's a lawyer. Like, identify who are the key players that are in your local church and immediately begin having meetings, because I think a lot of what they shared this afternoon is really tangible things that you guys can do in terms of putting flyers and materials in bathrooms, handing out things like that. You can start next week, you can start next month, and then you can start building out your campaign in more substantive ways and make sure that your church really is a sanctuary. And I think when Northeastern sees Lebanon as charting the way forward of what it looks like to prioritize domestic violence ministry, then the conference is like, oh my goodness, man, Dr. Morris has, created this whole program. Doc, come and teach us your ways. So like, how did you get the elders to do this? How did you get the board to do this? And how can we partner with you to move the conversation forward? But I think for me, I think a lot of times we wait for the denomination to do things that they fundamentally are not going to do. And so rather than kind of being stuck in a state of paralysis, waiting for them to act, I think that the power is and will always be at the local church.
Yeah, I agree.
And so the power is with you, and the power is for you to begin, and in prayer and in hope, it can expand. I do fully agree with and support the NAD program of EndItNow, and I know the woman who leads it, and I think that they're doing some really great stuff. I get your point in terms of it being perfunctory and performative, but I know that there are a lot of churches who maybe don't have pastors who can break down a text like Judges 19, and who maybe feel like, I don't know how to approach this conversation. And so having a pre-written sermon, having pre-created slides is actually really helpful for them, because they're able to go in with some information that they know is truthful, is rooted in scripture, and is information that they can wrap their minds around, and they can present it to their people in their way, in their language even, and then begin the conversations from there. So I think, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of growth in terms of what we could be doing at the conference, union, and division level regarding this topic, but my encouragement would really be local level.
So let me add, I don't want to add, thank you for saying that. So I'll just say this. The personality of this church is great. I will start with that young man with the great flyer that he put on today. And I would invite Sister Mary, you again, and I would invite Kesslyn. See, what happens after today is what you do tomorrow. So let's just say you have Friday night, and they come back, and you get, there's 3 or 4 people that comes back. And when you do it again, it shows commitment to it, because there's people here, and it's serious, okay? When I heard that Sister Claudia was preaching today, this is no joke, I called her about 4 weeks ago, and I said, what you're preaching on, because I wanted to make sure the theme works. So I'm going to be very clear. 6 weeks ago, I asked somebody who does domestic violence to do a vignette for me. And that person gave me such a hard time. They wanted this big, what is it, 4? I just need 5 minutes, so in front of Week of Prayer, you could talk about domestic violence. That person shut me down, okay? So when Sister Green called me, I could have easily said, because I'm very well connected, I could have said, this is for you. This is not me. I know general stuff. So when I can't do something, I hire somebody that knows what they're doing. I can bridge you, all right? So that's why I brought Dr. Cass. So I knew there was going to be a 1-2 punch with what happened. So now that everybody is excited and know what we're talking about, because not one of you shook your head like this. And not one of you shook your head like this. When I see an audience quiet, they know I'm telling the truth. I gave specific instructions to Dr. Kess to make sure she listened to Sister Claudia's message today. That was our lead, where it is. And now you can take this and you could move it in the right direction. You can do it. There's over 10 years that it hasn't happened. It's right. AD, what's going on, brother? God bless you, and all that. And so with that being said, I'll share with you something that I do. I do grief and loss every Monday night. And I call names. Travis died in Sharon Church in May. 6 weeks later, a young man passed away from this congregation. Last night, a man who took pictures of almost every young person over the last 10 years called Scroll Vision died. Somebody I went to Oakwood with. Last week, they was at the Hamptons, and they had a wedding, died. Tomorrow night when I go online to talk about grief and loss, nobody will show up. Nobody. And my online presence is pretty heavy, is it not? You think? Right. So there are two sides. So you could do all what you want, but it takes a lot of work. And, you could, I really mean this, you can call it, a certain culture that you have to see and you have to be serious about. Okay, 3 or 4 more questions. You want to answer questions with me? Thank you. Okay. Anybody, any questions? What do you think we should do better? Anything about the sermon today? We want to use that opportunity. What's going on? Okay. One last thing I want to just encourage everybody to do. Do not be afraid. Please. You have great leaders here. Claudia, Sister Claudia, I'm sorry. I would just tell you to keep up the good work. I think this is the first time we've met face to face. I think so. Yeah. The pandemic has changed a lot of people's life. I get a kick out of meeting people because the online presence is so large, is that I said, we have not met. And we haven't met. You met the twins, but, and we have talked. And then, yeah, this is the first time. So that's why I really wanted the picture. I endorse, I'm going to tell you, I endorse Sister Claudia. She's very well versed. I'm not just saying this. Not only that she's one of my favorite speakers, but pound for pound. And when you use the term pound for pound in sports, female or male, not only the talent is there, but she does her research. And so one of the identifying things that you know what she's about, invite her back. Invite her back before Linden invites her back, before Mount Sinai invites her back, before Ephesus invites her back, because there's a way when people invites people back, there's an authenticity that people waters down their authenticity. She goes all around the world. And I'm very proud of the work that you have done. And all I ask is more success for you. And I just wanted to put that publicly, that you are blessed. And I pray for you all the time. And we want the best for you. I also endorse Dr. Kess. Very few people has a PhD and an MDiv, and she personally mentors people to get their doctorate degree. You have not seen, you only got a taste of what she does. Invite her, and she'll come, and she'll take care of business. And there are other people. If you want to know, just hit me up. If you need counseling, I am not your counselor. My specialty is grief and loss. My specialty are boys. But if you need somebody to carry you over for 3 or 4 sessions, that is fine. I do not do this for free. Those days are gone. I have a son to send to medical school, and my wife likes to go to Europe every year. I'm going to keep it real. And when my wife asks me for money, she expects it on the table. You laughing, but is it, you don't know if I'm being abused. Somebody had a quick question. Oh, yeah. That's such a lovely. I applaud you for saying that. There are so many times when we go to churches, and then Sister Claudia will be on the receiving line, and all you can say is, thank God, and she's eating. And forums like this, believe it or not, as confident as we are, we love to hear exactly that. I don't even know the text, right? And then I really don't, you know, and now I have to go back. But one of the impacts this church could do right away is go back online and watch the sermon again, okay? And watch those views come up. This is a very special church. Every church has their own personality. This is a very special church. You are in the suburbs of Adventism here, between Sinai and Linden, and people flock to those places. But something about this church, when you come here, is like you could sit on the couch and lean back. And somebody's going to come to the kitchen and give you some grape juice. Some other churches, you're not going to get that. And I just pray that you keep that personality. Sister Green, or is the pastor around here? All right. You're going to say something nice, right?
Thank you very much. Is that good?
Yes, go ahead.
Curious question. Because you mentioned you were dealing with grief and loss.
I didn't hear you.
And because you mentioned that you dealt with grief and loss.
Yeah, that's my wheelhouse, yeah.
Of the stories you said that were newsworthy, I just looked up a few of them. Curious. Most of them tended to end with the perpetrator having died from self-inflicted wounds.
Good question.
And that also brings hurt to the family of that person. Can you speak to the grief and loss element from the other party in a domestic abuse situation, one? And two, I'm happy that Judges 19 was mentioned because a friend of mine went through it. And it was one of the most hurtful things she could find in the Bible. So I do thank you for speaking about that. It's one of those that you find hard to chew on from the Bible. You can't believe the Bible had a story like that.
So,
and and it hurts very much to think of an Israelite carving up a human in that form. So it also has the story of, if we look at ourselves in the framework of Judges 19, James speaks about the tongue, and we use that to carve up our fellow men a lot. Can you also speak to that and how much the level of abuse from us can do the same? And ought we to send those pieces or those instances to the heads of departments, to the board, for them to help us with that? Curious.
So one of my superpowers is I claim to not know things that I do. I have done mass murders, and I have thought that's the worst thing that I've ever seen. I have never in my career seen somebody die of domestic violence. So I can't with grief. But I could tell you some of the things that blows my mind when I go to corporate entities. It just seems to me that everybody dies over the weekend. I come in on Tuesday, and they'll say, oh, I seen Pastor Morris on Friday, and he's not here anymore. And that has enriched my faith that you don't know when you're going to take your last breath. And so I'm a big guy, and one of the things that happens when people die, they come to big guys and it says, oh, you have to take care of yourself. And, you know, and you have to do better. But I've seen the healthiest of healthiest people take their last breath. So I'm coming to you. So you do not know when is your next day that you're going to. So that's why you have to live for Christ every day. I'll share one story. I'll share when they had the mass murder in Maine. And the amount of money they threw at me changed my life. The stuff you see on TV, it doesn't really happen. When the shooter went into the bowling alley, when the shooter went into the club, and it's hard for me to say, is that they shot everybody in the club, and nobody had a chance because everybody was hearing impaired. So they didn't say that on the news. So imagine you playing pool, me and Dino and whatever, and everybody. So sometimes when somebody comes in a mass shooter, people get a chance to dive under it. Nobody had a chance. That happened. That's the stuff that I hear. Or I mentioned name like Sharon is a flight attendant here, right? When the planes got crashed in the Potomac, the stories that you hear from the flight attendants that it happened on American Airlines, but it was so bad that flight attendants and pilots across the country started calling. And then when you hear flight attendants say things that they're afraid to fly, and then they say that when you're about to land, everybody has a relaxed position, and they're against, and sometimes you hear it, and you hear the pilot says 1,000, 900, 800, and that person doesn't hear the next number because they crash. And I have to kind of like do that, to undo that. So when it comes to grief and loss, it hurts because I pray, and this is my Christian walk, is that if you are faithful and you ask God to extend your life, God will protect your life and extend your life. Because the chaos that happens after death, no matter how much you have your business together, is unfathomable. People has gone for years, and they still grieve. And people go up to the people and say, oh, you need to get over that. For that, I allow you to give them 5 things. Close your fist and punch them right in the face. I say that with authority. There's people in this church that has gone for years. It still affects people. So I cannot answer the domestic violence. I've never seen that happen. And I don't want that day to come because it's preventable to a point. But the business that I do, especially the last one with the NFL, the guy going down to Park Avenue, that's not even half the story. Everybody in the financial district called, and you got 12-hour shifts. So I'll do grief and loss with you guys one day. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all that question. Yes, dear.
Answer her question regarding grief of loss with the perpetrator. So currently there's a model called restorative justice that allows the facilitates the mediation between the person who, let's call him the perpetrator, and the survivor of the abuse. And the purpose of that intervention is to allow a level of reconciliation that is outside of the courts, right? Because the courts are dealing with the legality of the event, and in that, a lot of times, the emotions and the psychology of what's happening is lost to focus on what the law says, right? So restorative justice allows for that conversation about reconciliation, if there can be any, where the survivor of the event tells what would benefit them to that would lead to their healing. It's not about money. It's about, for lack of a better term, the feelings. So if the perpetrator dies, right, in that event, let's say the person survives or the person's family survives, they can access the restorative justice model. They could find a mediator to bring everyone who wants to the table to discuss how can we begin the healing. And a lot of times, I mean, domestic violence in the Black community across the diaspora is very complex, right? Because we get into things about the person who commits the violence, their family may have this view of who the person is, right? They may be charismatic, they're the giving person in the family, you know, in order to disguise what's happening. So the family sees a face, and a lot of times because there's this contentious relationship between a person of color and law enforcement, the family does not want to tell on especially the man, right? Because he may have, they talk about power dynamics earlier. He may have a level of power over the woman of the same racial identification, but he is lower in the power totem pole than the majority of law enforcement. So a lot of times you'll find in communities, sorry to say mothers, but mothers would hide their sons who have committed incidents of violence. And restorative justice allows families and individuals to come and say, you have hurt me in a very fundamental way in my being, and I would like you to pay for it. So if you can, there are organizations throughout city, especially in New York City, there are resources to access those restorative justice models. Also, because there was something that happened recently, New York City, what are they called? District Attorney, there we go. District Attorney has an initiative for domestic violence in this city. So a lot of those community organizations have partnered with the DA in order to speak out against domestic violence, to bring awareness. And you can possibly call through their website. They have a beautiful website. Find access to those organizations to find the restorative justice agents in our city to access that level of healing, because it is possible, right? And the mediator speaks to you, they speak to the other party separately, try to come to an agreement before bringing you together. You're not just smushed together right out the gate. So there's a lot of work that happens in that space, and you do have an advocate in that way. So hopefully that answers your question. And just a little tidbit, you mentioned gambling.
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Yes, you should. Let me sit down.
No, you're funny. Look, I want to thank everybody. Shameless plug, I would love to come back and talk a little bit more, especially about grief and loss. But again, my final recommendations, have Sister Claudia come back, have Sister Kess come back, powerful 1 or 2 punch. And once again, I want to thank the ladies who invited me. Is this your husband? Yeah, I commend you, man. I've seen some things, but anyway, I wanted to thank everybody. I'm going to stick around for a little bit. I am going to sign some autographs, and I'm sure Sister Claudia would like to sign some autographs too. And that's my way of whispering my ear. If you want any guidance of anything, it has been my pleasure to serve you, and I thank you very much.
Let's give a hand. Before you go, I have a handout, and it's on the back of the bathrooms, all the bathrooms in the church, it's resource numbers, numbers for help. So, I'm sorry, numbers for help in the case of domestic abuse. So at this time, I'm gonna ask Sam and Sister Green to give out those handouts. And as they're doing that, I'd like to say thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come and to bring Dr. Cass with you. It was indeed a wonderful afternoon. And what a wonderful morning we had. We had Sister Claudia here with us. I met Sister Claudia online during the COVID. And you know, during COVID, we got to meet a lot of people. And I was impressed by Sister Claudia. I listened to the 7 words of social justice. And that did something for me. And it's been so long I've been trying to get her. Finally, she came today to be with us. So I just want to say thank you. May God continue to bless your ministry because what you're doing is phenomenal. Thank you so much. To the congregation and to all the people who helped to make the day special, we say thank you. To the kitchen staff, the serving staff, the cooking staff, we couldn't do this without you, so we just want to acknowledge you and let you know that we do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Pastor Morris.
Well, you know, I want to say thanks to Garry for the presentation this evening. I made sure I sat behind Sister Clayton so you could not see me. And I saw when Claudia looked around a few times, wondering if I was still there. But our relationship has gone back for so many years, and we have just watched each other grow and serve in this area. And I appreciate you, Garry. I thank you for what you brought to the table this evening. Sister Josiah, thank you. Thank you. You worked so hard. Put our hands together for her team. I didn't see Sandra today. Is she all right? And her team for the fine work that they did. And this was one of those days that you want to circle on your calendar as a memorable day. And as I said this morning when I introduced Pastor Allen, that she came to my attention this summer, and we joke about Brother Lawrence. And anybody know Brother Lawrence? Okay, well, I see 2 hands, 3 hands that know Brother Lawrence, and don't be surprised if we on Brother Lawrence, if we on Brother Lawrence before the week is over. But here at the Lebanon Church, we are proud in knowing that we are scratching where our people are itching. And I sat back there like a proud father, just listening to Garry, pouring out his heart to us, and about what we are doing. But we don't want to become satisfied with where we are, because change does not happen overnight. People are resistant to change, especially if it's change that takes them out of their comfort zone, even though if they are suffering in silence. But we will continue to speak out. We'll continue to let our voice be heard. We'll continue to scream if we have to, because we want to make everyone's life better. You cannot be well if I am sick, and vice versa. You cannot be, if I am well, and you're sick, you know, we have to share, like the song says, we share our mutual woes and our mutual burdens bear, and often for each other flow the sympathizing tears. So, Pastor, I want to wish you a safe trip. And yes, you have an open invitation. Anytime you're free, you call, the pulpit is yours. It is yours. Thank you so much. That's it. Let us stand for the closing prayer. I'm going to ask the elder for women's ministry to come and do the closing prayer for us, please.
Let us pray. Eternal God and our loving Father in heaven, we're so grateful to have had this opportunity to spend this time in your courts today. And we're grateful for all the information that has been made available to us. We pray that, Lord, we will not just take it lightly, but we will take it and run with it so we can help to improve the lives of our sisters and our brothers. We thank you for the presenters who came here today to share this valuable knowledge with us. We thank you for the special word that you sent to us today. We're grateful to have received it, and it was a blessing. Father, we thank you for this Sabbath day that is soon coming to an end. As we move into the new week, we pray, Lord, that you will go before us, that you would guide us, you would counsel us, you would bless us, and you would help us to get through the hills and the valleys as we navigate the new week. Again, we thank you for your special love for us. And we pray, God, in a special way, we may be able to demonstrate that love so that others may come to know you. We thank you again in Jesus' name. Amen.
Have a good week, everybody.